I'm David with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. I'm here today with founder and chief editor Bill Moore. How you doing today, Bill?
I am great. I got my walk in this morning, and they're tearing up my sidewalk, putting in fiber optic cable.
Oh, nice, nice. I saw that we have that new company putting
New
fiber
company,
optic in.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, so it'll be
And they're
interesting to
right
see how
now
that
digging.
plays
They're
out.
right now digging holes and running cable in my front yard. So,
Oh, Lord. Well,
yeah.
so today we're going to cover how a Colorado woman bought a used EV for $700.
Oh, this is so cool.
Yeah, how the European Union is planning to import tariffs on Chinese EVs in the next week or two. Green investment hitting $2 trillion, and a highway with built-in EV chargers. And I'm going to start today off, though, by talking about an issue with the $4,000 used vehicle tax credit. This probably applies to the $7,500 new tax credit as well, but and how that's going. So let's go ahead and start with this. I'm going to post this on the screen. And this is from the National Auto Dealers Association. Let's see where it's got it. Here we go. So, and this is dated from May 30th, but this is to the Commissioner of the IRS. Request for reimbursement relief for franchise auto and truck dealers under the Clean Vehicle Tax Credit Advance Payment Program. So what's been happening is apparently they're supposed to be getting paid within 3 days. So when you go in, you buy a car, the dealer's supposed to get paid the $4,000 or $7,500 within 72 hours. And what's happening is that isn't happening. Yeah, and so they're trying to get this sped up. So on behalf of the National Auto Dealers Association, we're writing to formally request relief for franchise new and used light-duty automobile and truck dealers that have not been reimbursed for the advance payment. And we appreciate the collaborative effort and relationship with Treasury and IRS and the efforts expended to provide portal registration assistance and dealer education to date. We also acknowledge our informal communications with Treasury about the advance payment issue and understand the efforts are being made to implement portal functionality for correcting, updating, and resubmitting time of sale reports. Although the circumstances encountered by the affected dealers vary, the scenarios most frequently described involve situations where dealers applied credit transfers at the time of sale, but submitted regular time of sale reports in the portal because they did not realize the reports do not include transfer credits by default. In other scenarios, the dealers may, so there's been some issues where maybe the dealers didn't really know the correct form to submit. So there's been some issues, but there's been no help from the IRS via the portal, via help desk email. They're just getting canned responses that neither acknowledge nor address the lack of reimbursement, nor does the portal itself enable dealers to amend their submitted time of sale reports or otherwise seek remediation. Dealers who missed the 3-day submission deadline are also unable to submit a time of sale report, even if their advance payment registration is complete. So obviously there's some troubles with the program.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure this will get resolved, but it's just one of those things that happens in the process of trying to provide government services. The government's here to help.
Well, not just government. Let me give you an example. Okay, we're at the airport in Seattle, getting ready to come back to Omaha. We check in. We are flying first class. We don't do that very often, but in a particular case, it's my wife's money. Let her spend it how she wants, and she wants to go first class. So I asked the lady, the Alaska airline agent. I said, now I understand that because we're flying first class, we get to clear the security line faster. She says, yeah, you just go around the corner there and you go through the clear thing and you bypass these long lines. Great. So we get around there, we walk to the clear thing, and the lady says, "Are you a clear member?" No, I'm a first class Alaska Air. Well, you have to be a clear member. I said, what? So she said, yeah, you got to go back to that line. Of course, the long line, right? So we get in there and I start thinking about it. No, wait a minute. They told me at Alaska that I can go through the expedited line, and she's telling me I can't. So I look it up on the website, right? And it says Alaska Airline first class passengers can, get expedited through the security line. And so then I go up to I go back to the lady who told us go back in the other line. I said, look, here's what it says. Here's what the agent told us. Is, well, yeah, but all you really do is you get a $10 discount on your clear annual membership.
Oh my God.
So you talk about, one person, corporation not commuting with it. So anyway, yeah, so we had to stand in a long line and wait to, we got to the plane okay, but it's just one of those frustrations of these poor dealers.
I've done TSA pre-check for years. Yeah, I've done TSA pre-check for years, and the clear people try to sell them. It's like, I'm not going for that. There's a few airports that even pre-check has to go in the same long line. The only difference is that when you get up there, you don't take your shoes off. But in Omaha, I mean, you just walk up and, you have a separate line. Some airports have it, but that Seattle airport, that's one you need to show up 2.5, 3 hours before the flight because
we were there 2 hours before, and that was helpful.
And you were probably still cutting it close. We had probably half an hour before the technically boarding begins. So yeah. SeaTac is a very busy airport, and it is not efficient.
It's under remodeling. So there's girders and scaffolding and stuff everywhere. So that's also part of the problem that's going on.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're really going off on a tangent here.
Oh, Bill. We are. Sorry, folks.
Yeah. So anyways, all right. Next topic is highway with built-in EV charger to be constructed in Central Florida. And
well, they're following Italy's lead. Italy already is doing that. Yeah. And so, well, it's not built in. The Swedish one is using a catenary system for its trucks. So, yeah.
Not sure exactly how this plays out, but Central Florida Expressway Authority reportedly intends to construct an expressway in Central Florida with a special design that will enable electric vehicle owners to charge their cars while on the road. Now, this is quite... I'm familiar with the ones with trains, where the train has a thing running up and it's touching the wire.
There's a huge caveat here. This is called inductive charging, and this is where you basically pass energy through a magnetic field from one antenna to the other antenna. The one antenna is embedded under the pavement, right, and the other antenna is embedded in the car. And so there's, depending on the frequencies and all this kind of stuff, the distance that you have to be from that to effectively work. So basically you're going down, this lane, and I'm guessing that's going to be a toll lane, right? So you get access to this HOV's charged lane. And if you've paid the fees or whatever, how they're going to do that, then you can get your cars charged inductively rather than conductively, where you got to plug it in and make physical contact. This, you don't, all you have to have is just a small air gap, and it'll charge the car as you're driving along. That's a lot of energy, but they've been working on that. I know that the test track in Italy, where they've been working on that. So that will, I'm good for them. I'm glad that they're thinking ahead here on that.
Yeah, the entire building cost of this State Road 516 will be $534 million. And it's reportedly started a pilot initiative called the Dynamic Charging Road in collaboration with Aspire and ENRX. The work is expected to start in the spring of next year, and it's supposed to be ready by 2027. Let's see.
Are there any cars that have inductive charging built into them?
I was going to say, I'm not even aware that was a thing.
No. BMW's been doing some work where you pull into your garage and there's an inductive charging pad that you pull the car over, but that's still all prototype. But no, nobody's got any cars that actually can take advantage of this at this point.
Yeah, the article is quoting approximately one EV charging station is now available for every 15 traditional gas stations. In the first 3 months of this year, the U.S. added about 600 fast charging stations, which is a 7.6% increase from the end of 23. There's 8,200 fast EV charging stations in the country, and Tesla owns about 25% of them. Well, that's some progress, and to me, that's keeping up with the number of EVs on the road.
Sure.
Comparatively, it's probably a little behind, but people that drive EVs don't need to go to the gas station, meaning that they can most people that drive EVs charge them at home. So
right.
the superchargers or whatever are just something extra. Let's see.
That's basically an effort to help people overcome their fear of running out of juice.
Right.
If they're taking a trip somewhere. There are people that live in apartments that take advantage of that. They'll go over, and park their car and get coffee or walk back to their apartment or whatever. And when the charge is done, they come back and get their car. So, but yeah, it's mainly for people that basically it's a confidence builder.
Yes, it is. That's what it is mostly. All right, here's our main story for today: how a Colorado woman bought a used EV for less than $700.
Yep.
New electric vehicles can be expensive. Tax credits and other incentives help them, make those purchases. But a woman in Colorado drove home from a dealership with a used EV for less than $700. Now, the number of EVs is increasing. We're getting cheaper. But let's see. This lady's name is Cindy Torres, and
she's located in Colorado.
And she just got a 2015 Nissan Leaf. That's not super old. We're talking 9 years old.
Yep.
And let's see. Her final price to buy it was $652. That's just crazy. I have power steering. I have air conditioning. I have a heater. I have heated seats. I have a heated steering wheel. It's just ridiculous. She'd been driving a 1987 Subaru wagon until late last year when she noticed the return of a chronic oil leak. Well, she doesn't have to worry about the oil leak anymore. A replacement seemed like the best answer. She relies on a disability retirement program and couldn't spare more than a few $100s. One morning I woke up and I was like, well, I'm just going to check the Boulder Nissan website. And it was like, for $7,600. That would have been way too expensive, but Colorado has some of the most generous EV incentives in the country. So we know she would have gotten the $4,000 federal, and then the rest of that came from the state of Colorado.
Yeah.
And she got something from the state that was for low-income drivers who agreed to scrap an older or high-emissions car, and her utility offered another rebate. Those discounts combined to $7,000. Her new car is now parked outside her front garden. It only has 80 miles of range. That's all she needs for errands and trips to nearby trailheads. That's really kind of crazy to think that getting a working car for under $1,000.
Yeah, and the other thing is not only no oil changes, but also the cost of the electricity, the fuel is going to be a fraction of what she was putting into that Subaru.
She doesn't strike me as somebody who is probably driving a whole lot. She gets disability payments. It means she's not driving to work.
Right.
And so she really just needs to be able to get back and forth to run errands kind of thing. So it's probably one of these people who probably drives like, 500 miles a month, if even that.
Yeah.
So probably not a real big deal. But if you want an electric car, price was a barrier. Now is the time to go and have a look. Yeah, certain states, if you are low income, like California, Colorado, a few others, where they have incentives on top of the $4,000 used EV credit, and get pretty nuts. Because we've talked about some of these, like the Cadillac ELR and some of the other vehicles that are out there for a song. And it's most of these cars that are eligible for the rebate, nobody's ever even heard of them. Maybe the Leaf is a common one, but there's so many of them out there that I've done looking on like the Carvana website, and it shows all of the vehicles that are eligible across the country. There's even a Mercedes that fits in there that I'd never seen before, and it looks goofy for a Mercedes. Okay, it is not a real. Yeah, but there's so many like plug-in hybrids and full electric cars that qualify, and so many of them were only made like between 2014 and 2016. But still, what was the age of hers? It was 2015, and it just fits right in there. Now, obviously, Nissan's still been making the Leaf. The Leaf is still out there, and a 1-year-old Leaf even is an exceptional deal, because you can get those under $25,000 and add the $4,000. But if you're somewhere and you get these other benefits, it's a pretty big deal.
There's been a spate of there's been a spate of articles recently about the Hertz, cars, and they're talking, and you go look and you get these cars I think the most of them are around 40,000 miles or so on them. They're 22 and 23 models. And they're 25,165, numbers like that. But since it's a used car, you get that 4,000, assuming the IRS pays the dealer the 4,000. But anyway, you get that 4,000, dollars. So now you're talking $2,100 or $21,000 for a car that is only a couple years old, has less than 50,000 miles on it. That, I think, is a deal if you're looking to get into an EV. So,
all right, bear with me a second here.
Okay,
I'm getting more just crap going on in my computer today.
Well, I will while you're fixing it, I will do that. QuickBike is a startup that I launched a few years ago to rent solar charged electric bicycles to tourists in places like Florida and things like that. We ran into the typical kind of startup issues, problems with staffing, regulations, hurricanes, things that you run into typically. So anyway, that was a dream that kind of unfortunately faded away, but I still have the t-shirt. And it turns out that an Oregon congressman has reintroduced legislation that will encourage bring financial incentives and regulatory incentives to bringing bicycle manufacturing back to the United States. All the Swins and the Huffies and those guys that we all grew up with as kids, they either don't exist anymore or they have moved over to manufacturing in China. 97% of all of the bicycles manufactured in the world are manufactured in China. So what this Congressman, Mr. Blumenauer, would like to do is introduce legislation that encourages that, just like with the batteries and the car manufacturing, let's bring bicycle manufacturing back to the United States. So I'm trying to encourage that by wearing my QuickBike t-shirt. So that's why I'm wearing this today.
There you go. All right. Let's talk about green investments hit $2 trillion worldwide. Now, you were telling me before the show there was $3 trillion in investments in energy last year.
Yeah, I think there's like $3 trillion total for energy investments. 2/3 of that is going to renewables, and the rest is going to fossil fuels.
Yeah, so 2/3 of all energy investments are in green energy now. That's a pretty big hump to cross over.
That's a big one. Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. Today is Blue Team Day. It's just kind of coincidence we wore the same color of blue today. But
yeah, we did. Thanks, Yogi.
Yeah. So, anyways, President Biden has admitted that fossil fuels are essential to fulfilling global energy needs. Oil companies executives said their drilling plans will rise as demand flourishes. Climate Crisis 24/7 believes that the analysis included a warning that the costs of renewable energy remain high and emerging markets have almost no capital. This has been the case for years. Government investment could be better despite promises of capital. I've told you I've got some involvement in trying to do some solar arrays and battery storage in Africa. Yeah. And it's a challenge because those countries really don't have very big GDPs. The government doesn't have a big budget.
Fair amount of corruption going on.
Yes, fair amount of corruption. It's just, it's a different, type of place.
Yeah.
And, but we'll see. There's big solar power fields going in all over the planet now.
Think about this. You can fit, I think it's at least 2 United States, right, inside within the geographical area of Africa. It is a huge, huge nation with incredible resource potential that unfortunately was abused through the colonial period, and then that set back all kinds of things. They're trying to get that, get things justified, but that's a hard battle. You've got so many different tribal groups and politics and things. It's just, it's a tough thing to overcome. But the wealth and potential that is there is enormous, just enormous.
It's funny. I hear people blame a lot of problems in Africa on colonialism. And it's funny because, it only lasted for like 80, 90 years.
Oh, total. Yeah, it wasn't all that long.
It was it was like a blip, in history.
Well, I think that they were always behind much like North America, the tribal groups here in North America. I think that they had a lot of advances, at least, some technological advances in terms of astronomy and mathematics. And, Mexico City was the largest, prior to the conquistadors. Mexico City was probably the largest city in the world. And they had, vast, water gardens and things like that, that just awed the conquistadors when they showed up there. So it wasn't that they were technologically backwards; it was just different kind of technology.
Right.
And I think the same thing, happened with Africa. There was, stuff that's been built there that just, whatever the reasons, whether it was disease, whether it was tribal warfare, whether it was colonial exploitation, just always kind of held them back from taking advantage of that. At least that's my view. So.
Oh yeah. Well, it's not to say that there aren't harmful parts of things and all that. I see that EV Auto got more exposure this time. The Seattle Times picked up an article.
Yeah, they did. But that was I would post that up there and give our former interviewee a little bit of publicity. So,
yeah, let's see this, because Alex Lawrence has been getting a lot of exposure. Yeah. He's doing a lot of things that are pretty cool. He did the whole thing with the Cybertruck with the, with the Cybertron graphics on it. And let's see, I guess I'll continue as me.
Which is kind of interesting, they're in the light of the lady that got hers for $700. People saying, yeah, they're becoming affordable now. Yeah, they are. In fact, there's been a couple of stories about how long-range EVs are now cheaper than new cars. Mm-hmm. Side-by-side comparison, the EVs now with not short-range things, not like my little Fiat, but longer 300, 400-mile cars are now less expensive than a new internal combustion engine car.
Yes. And, in Alex's case, he's mainly selling a lot of Teslas he's picking up and selling for $25,000. So they all qualify for the $4,000 tax credit. Yep. And he's selling them like crazy. And, there's a couple things. People always talk about the depreciation on an EV. Well, if you bought an EV new for $50,000 and it qualified for the $7,500 tax credit, well, the price was really $42,500. Right. Okay, and then the price may drop 20% in that first year from that. That's not saying that it depreciates. People are always trying to make the assumption that it dropped from 50,000 to 36, and it was this big number, when in reality it was only dropping from 42 to 36. Yeah, and which is actually not that much for a car. But so that's a lot of it. Over half of the depreciation that people are claiming that it is happening to the EVs is actually from the tax credits themselves.
Right.
So you're certainly not going to get somebody to go buy a used EV for only $7,000 less than a new one.
Yeah.
When they could just buy the new one and take the tax credit and have that benefit at the point of purchase. So that's a pretty big deal, but it's great. Alex does a lot to get promoted in various medias, and he's done quite well. I think he's got some good. He's actually opening a second location in the Salt Lake City area.
Good for him. I mean, that's a nice, I came across a photograph, is the one I posted, not the one of the school bus thing there, whatever that was, but I found a photograph of the new dealership, and it's nice. He's doing really well.
Yeah. I didn't really have a lot to cover today, Bill, and you've already talked about the bicycle thing. So I think we're good for today.
Yeah, just let me touch on a new feature that I've added to the website.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, called AI Insight, and I spelled that INCITES, Insights, partially because there's still a lot of debate about the value of augmented reality and large language models, and not augmented reality. I'm sorry, I'm confusing, but with artificial intelligence. And so what I did is there's a one that I came across called pi.ai. And so I've started using that. And occasionally when I'm coming across, as I'm editing stories and putting them in the RSS stream, I have questions, like one today, for example, there was an automotive news asked the question, what do consumers prefer? Do they prefer the sound of waterfalls or the sound of UFOs coming out of their EVs, right? Because they don't make any noise. And by federal regulation, they need to make some kind of a noise to alert pedestrians of their presence. So I don't subscribe to automotive news, which means I can't access the article. So I went to AI and I said, okay, what sounds from studies, what sounds do they prefer? So it's that kind of questions that I asked the AI, and then I post it on the website. And of course, it's just there's a little, icon thing that I made on the homepage. And I thought, you know what? That's not getting a lot of visibility. So I literally, this is true. I asked Pi AI to write me a code that I could use to put a ticker banner across the top of the website. And it, in a blink, wrote all the code out for me. And all I had to do was cut and paste, and I had to do some database coding to get it to pull stories and things like that. So if you're interested in what AI is doing, for example, what sound do people prefer? Then that's a new feature that we've added to the website right there on the homepage. Hopefully you can't miss it because it's a ticker that comes across, and there's another icon below that that you can go over to and pull up stories, pull up shorts, answers to the questions I ask AI. You can see how AI answers.
Nice. I see that. You got the one about the sounds and one about the pay package, and that's an interesting way to operate some of the news. But honestly, a lot of the articles we get fed are probably generated the same way.
Yeah.
So that's not really a whole lot different. Yeah, no, I get it. But sometimes that's the only problem. AI isn't always accurate.
No.
It makes mistakes all the time.
Yeah,
and makes stuff up. My favorite was the stuff with the lawyer who it gave fake footnotes, or fake citations that didn't really exist, for legal cases that they turned into a judge, and the judge went and was like, what is this?
I've asked it questions before, and it would come back with these really generic, basically quoting, restating the question that I asked, right? So and then I've said, what about this? And it comes up with wrong information, and you correct it, and then it apologizes. And it gives you, it gives you another answer. So it's fun, particularly the ones that have the voice, where you can pick the voice and it'll read, it'll talk to you back to you. It's pretty cool. I'm still going to go with, moderating and human, looking at and reviewing these stories. before I think curate. Yeah, I still going to go with the human curated part of the
Yes.
thing, and I'm not going to let AI take over EV world. Not until that thing is absolutely bulletproof, and it sounds like me. Poor thing.
There you go. All right. Well, Bill,
All
I
right.
think that's all we've got for today. Folks, thanks for
Great.
watching.
Hey,
And I hope
thanks
you enjoyed
everybody.
our rants.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.